The sun was setting over the wide plains of Texas, casting long golden shadows across the worn fences and the old leaning barn. Dust swirled around the hooves of a black stallion as it trotted into the yard. On its back sat a man who looked like he'd been carved from the land itself, strong, weathered, and silent. His name was Luke Callahan, a cowboy whose name carried weight across the county. Folks said he had more land than the mayor, more cattle than any man needed, and a heart as cold as the iron on his spurs. But that evening, as he reined in his horse in front of the Miller family's struggling ranch, something in his eyes wasn't cold. It was conflicted. The door creaked open and an old man with trembling hands stepped out, leaning on the frame for support. "Mr. Callahan," he began, his voice shaking, "I know why you're here. I just need a little more time." Behind him, a young woman appeared, her dress worn, her hair undone by the wind. Her name was Clara Miller, and though she looked fragile, there was a quiet strength in her eyes that could tame storms. She looked at Luke with both fear and defiance. She knew the truth. Her father owed him money that had saved their home last winter, and now, the rich cowboy had come to collect. Luke dismounted slowly, dusted off his hat, and walked toward them. "It's been over a year, Mr. Miller," he said evenly, his voice deep and calm. "I gave you more time than anyone else ever would have. I can't keep this debt hanging forever." Clara stepped forward before her. Father could speak. "If you've come to take this house, take it. But you won't take him," she said, her voice trembling but proud. Luke's eyes flickered to her, something unreadable passing between them. He took a deep breath, then looked back at the old man. "I'm not here for your house," Luke said quietly. "I came for my payment, and I reckon I already found it." Clara blinked, confused. "What are you talking about?" she whispered. Luke turned to her and said softly, "You, come with me." The words hung in the air like thunder before a storm. Her father looked shocked, his lips parting but no sound coming out. "You can't," he began, but Luke interrupted gently. "You don't owe me money anymore. You owe me honesty. I've seen how this ranch struggles. If I leave now, you'll lose everything before the month's over. Let me take care of it. Let me take care of her." Clara stared at him, her heartbeat loud in her ears. She remembered how he'd once stopped a group of ranchers from evicting her father when times were bad. She remembered his kindness hidden beneath his gruffness. Still, she didn't understand. "Why me?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Luke looked at her then, really looked, and his eyes softened in a way no one had ever seen before. "Because," he said quietly, "I came here to collect a debt, but I found something I didn't know I was missing. A reason to stop chasing money and start chasing life." Her father looked between them, torn between fear and relief. The world had never been kind to him, and he knew that if his daughter left, she might finally have a chance to live free from hardship. With trembling hands, he nodded. "If you promise to treat her right, Luke, then maybe this is how it's meant to be." The cowboy nodded, his jaw tightening as he turned to Clara. "You don't have to come," he said quietly, "but if you do, I promise you'll never have to look over your shoulder again." Clara's breath caught in her throat. For years she'd dreamed of something, beyond the ranch and of open skies without pain, of a man who'd see her not as a burden but as a partner, and now that man stood before her. Slowly, she reached out her hand. "Then take me," she whispered. Luke's rough hand enveloped hers, warm and steady, and for the first time in a long while she felt safe. He led her to his horse, helped her up gently, and looked back at her father. "I'll send word once we reach the Callahan ranch," he said. The old man nodded, tears glistening in his eyes as he watched his daughter ride away. The wind picked up and the last rays of sunlight painted the horizon in gold. As the horse galloped into the open plains, Clara looked back once, the only home she'd ever known fading behind her. "You really mean to keep your promise?" she asked softly. Luke smiled faintly. "I never break a promise, darling. And from this day on, you're not a debt to me. You're my future." The words wrapped around her heart like a warm blanket. For the first time, she felt the freedom of the wind, the strength of love and the hope of a new beginning. The world stretched before them, endless, uncertain, but theirs. And somewhere between the fading sun and the whispering fields, she realized that sometimes fate collects debts not in gold or silver, but in hearts that were always meant to find each other.